Folks, this is another awesome episode of Customizing the Clone Wars. This is episode 27, and we are talking about the Duchess of Mandalore. I am your host, as always, Peak-OB1 Customizer. Along with me, my co-host, Darth Daddy. How you doing tonight?
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to episode 27 of Customizing the Clone Wars. We're going to be covering the Duchess of Mandalore.
Yep, that's right. Yeah, this is the third act of the Duchess Satine arc that we've been talking about and going through. Previously on there, we met Satine and we talked about the Mandalore plot. And we also talked about Voyage of Temptation last week. And this week, we're going to finalize that until, I believe, season 3, right? So we won't see her again until season 3. But we are deep, like probably on the back end of season 2, Rise of the Bounty Hunters. If you have not seen our show, we talk about the Clone Wars, and we do custom action figures along the way. We give our tips, we give tricks, we just show our love of that show and our Star Wars fandom. So here we go, right? All right, let's start with the synopsis that I usually read, and that is in the Clone Wars Encyclopedia. And it says, the Republic prepares to invade Mandalore in response to a mysterious message from one of the planet's ministers pleading for help. Mandalore's Duchess Satine knows that no such message was sent, so she tries to discover who is concocting evidence to provoke an invasion. She reveals a plot that threatens both her life and her planet's freedom. So there is the synopsis of this episode. Here we go.
Now, did you ever go and compare the two messages to see if you could actually cut up that second, I guess, what ended up being the original message? And did you ever see how it happened? If you had cut it up, could you get that message that was the false message if it was edited properly?
I don't know.
I always kind of wanted to see.
I always kind of wondered. There was like a piece of it cut off. You know what I'm saying? I think he just kind of
like there was things that just didn't. It seemed like there was extra additional information throughout, so it almost seemed like parts were taken out throughout the whole message. I don't know. I gotta go. I kind of always wanted to do that. I never got around to it. I wanted to do it for tonight's episode, but I worked too much this week, so I never got around to it.
They certainly doctored it up to really convince the Senate mostly. This is the message that one of the ministers gives to the Republic, basically, is what he's referring to. I don't know. I think it was just the back end of it was left off. Somebody was messing with it because they're just totally.
And they never really say who did. I mean, you assume it's Masameda and Palpatine. But they never quite. This is another situation where Palpatine didn't get what he wanted.
Right. Where, I don't think he ever does. Yeah.
No, I mean he's setting everything up. The way he wants to knock those pins down, but they just never go down.
Yeah, I wonder if his master was the one who concocted all this and he just kept going with it. Darth Plagueis, of course, we're talking about. And he kills him off.
I did read the Darth Plagueis novel, but I don't remember exactly at what point in the story he ends up getting killed by Palpatine.
I know Plagueis was part of this whole thing. He was a big part
I just
of it.
don't remember. He made it through Phantom Menace. I guess, did he make it to the end of Attack of the Clones? I got to reread it. I have it still. I mean.
I don't know. I didn't read it all. I kind of pieced through it. It was pretty good. It wasn't
the only thing that was I didn't immediately connect to was all the Plagueis experiments when it comes to like the Dr. Frankenstein end of the book. But when it came to, I guess, all the other information, I was kind of interested, like learning about Palpatine when he was younger, when he went through his apprentice phase. It was actually one of the books that I read, and the reason why I read it at the time, they announced it as being canon when it was first released, and it wasn't till later after that Disney purchase that it lost that status. I guess.
Yeah, maybe it gets in the way of like Snoke or something. Who knows?
I know. Yeah.
All these theories that come up, Snoke, and I heard a crazy theory the other day. I don't know if I put any stake in whether or not the animation and the movies coincide with one another. Do you think there's a question for you before we get going? Do you think they're brave enough to put more than just a Saw Gerrera into future films, like Rebels characters? Do you see them coming into future films or just anything from animation? Do you see them?
I hope they do. I'd like to see that done. You don't want. I've gotten to become very attached to some of those animated characters. Some even more so than the film characters. So it would be, I'd like it if some of them started showing up in these movies.
Yeah.
I've always secretly wanted to see Ahsoka in the new trilogy, to be honest with you.
Man, that would be something too. I was watching Guardians of the Galaxy earlier, and one of the bad guy characters, what is her name? I think it's Nova. Her name's Nova. She just reminds me of Ventress for some reason. I know we're getting off topic, but I would love to see a live action Ventress and like have Mika Futterman play Ventress somehow, or play the voice at the very least.
It would be cool to see a reborn Ventress, because the way they ended it, you ended up going into that Night Sister pool at the end of the book when Quinlan Vos, later to rest. And
we never really
like to see her get reawoken from that primordial pool. If that would be very cool.
That would be cool. Well, let's get into this.
She's definitely one of my favorite characters from the Clone Wars.
Ventress. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh, by far.
For sure. Well, let's get into this episode. Like I said, this is the end of the Satine arc, and it says in the fortune cookie, in war, truth is the first casualty. What do you think about that?
I think that's something that we are experiencing in our current election cycle.
Current election, exactly. Let's keep it away from that. Definitely go vote, people. We're not going to make it a political thing, but there's
no. That's about as far as I'll go. But
yeah.
Man, is it a casualty? That's all I gotta say.
It's true. There was always. We even saw in the last battle in Rebels, Ezra was trying to figure out what's the deal here. Who really won the Clone Wars, right? He was talking about it with Kalani and Rex. Right. He's like who won that battle? He's like trying to figure it out, and maybe there's a future game to this whole. Not knowing who it was, that it was Palpatine.
Well, it definitely teaches everybody that politics is theater and nothing more.
I hear you. Yeah, I know where you stand. We won't get into that.
No.
We don't want people to boo us. So here we see the coronet, right? And my first question is, who the heck is flying the ship? Because they blew away. What is it? Tal Merrick? Tal Merrick blew away everybody last week. The entire coronet command, or the people flying the ship, the captains or the pilots, basically, right?
Maybe Anakin. Anakin's pretty good flying ships he's never flown before.
Yeah, maybe he rolled in there and flew that thing all the way home to Coruscant. So they end up going to Coruscant, and we see that there is a plot forming. And here we have Vizsla, and he is talking to Dooku. Look at that army behind him, man. That is amazing. Army of Mandos, right? Death Watch Mandos. He's been.
Yeah, I actually have a pretty sizable army myself of Mandalorians.
I've been doing the
I
same
have.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I've
What's,
definitely. That's one of my larger army builds. My largest army builds is of the Death Watch.
I've been doing the same thing. I adore those things. That they are so nice.
They are. I agree.
Yeah.
So
So.
some of my favorite figures from that line.
Mhm. Yeah, and he's trying to create his own angle, right? Previsla. He's really trying to get in league with this Dooku guy, and he actually doesn't even trust him. That's the funny thing. That's how good this Visla guy is, because he's skeptical, right? He's
Oh
skeptical
yeah.
about this plan, but really, it's just Dooku, and of course, it's Sidious manipulating everything. So, like I said, he's skeptical. He basically says, send one of your Death Watch assassins to basically hunt her down and on Coruscant and assassinate her, because she's a problem, right? And here we see,
They put a lot of work into trying to get rid of Satine.
yeah, they really did, and here we see one of her people spotting this and seeing this going on, and he goes back and gives this information to one of the customs that you shared last week, and you said you did a little bit more work on this guy, right?
Yeah, when I did it, when I was working on him, I just felt like this area of the face just went out too far, and he
Yeah,
just has a very narrow face. So I knew
sure
I wanted
does.
to do a little more work on the face sculpt.
Mm,
I was relatively happy enough with the body, and I even ended up doing some more body work to it. But I did go back and kind of tightened up the areas that I wasn't really comfortable with. That when you do stuff, sometimes you end up going by the shelf and you're like, oh, there's just
yeah,
times where you just see little things on your figures that you just want to improve and you want to make them that much better, just so you can walk by and be like, yeah, I made that,
yeah.
instead
Just
of
like,
like, oh, I hope no one ever sees that, that little mistake I made, or that part of the figure that every time it just rubs you the wrong way when you walk by.
sure,
And
sure. You got a picture of him?
yeah, yeah. All right,
Let's check
I
him
just get
out.
the share going.
Yeah, you're like George Lucas, right? Perfectionist, right? You gotta make sure you're getting every last detail in. I do that too. I'll probably do a little bit more work on the characters I'll be showing tonight as well. We got a whole bunch of characters tonight to share. And here, I will leave this up to Darth Daddy to describe what we got going on here.
All right. So what I ended up doing on this one, um, I ended up tightening that face sculpt up and just thinning out his face a little bit, thinned out his nose a bit more too. I felt like the nose that I had was just a little too wide, and he has just a very thin nose. So I did thin out the nose and uh, fixed that a bit. And the other thing I did is I shortened him a bit because Savage is really tall, and although Prime Minister Almec is very tall, he's not quite as tall as Savage. So I just cut off a bit in the thighs. I brought him up a bit higher, and I ended up taking this rounded stone Dremel bit, and I just went and I basically made the recess that the knee fits into a bit deeper, so that way everything's still mashed up. I just drill once I made that area, that recessed area deeper. I needed to drill the hole a bit deeper too, so I just drilled up in there just so the peg would go all the way in and everything would mesh the way it should. But yeah, in the end, I'm a lot happier with this figure now, and I just feel like it looks the way it should at this point.
Cool, really
Yeah.
cool.
Oh,
Yeah,
thanks.
so like with the leg, you're basically saying it's like a reverse bowl. You kind of dremeled up into there, so there's like kind of a rounded area, right?
Yeah.
And then you drill the hole. I do that myself. I was working on a custom earlier, I make sure that it's not so much just kind of a flat leg, folks. You got to kind of drill in there to make
Get a
sure
half
that
sphere almost.
right, the roundness of the leg with the peg on in it can go up in there and look accurate. So it's important to not have kind of a flat leg. That was awesome, man. Looks great.
Thank you.
It's definitely come along and it looks real good. So we'll get back to it. And here we go. So he gives him the information, and I'm guessing he just keeps it himself, keeps it to himself, or he's going to assess what he needs to do. I like that cubist painting also, that cubism painting back there of Satine. It's pretty cool.
Oh yeah, with that nose off to the side.
Yeah, right. So here is one of the minister that we're talking about. I can't recall the guy's name. We'll just leave it off right now for time. Basically, he says, we need the Republic's help. And Satine's like, nuh-uh, no way. There's no way this guy would say this. There's something wrong here. There's something amiss. Because she goes to the Senate and she basically says, no, we don't need your help. We want to remain neutral. And everybody that likes her and cares about her, especially Padme back there, they want to help her. They want to help this situation. It's going to lead them into yet another civil war, and they've had so many apparently, and it's ruined their planet, and it's going to make their neutrality null and void. And this is going to kind of lead into our Easter egg. How long has it been since we saw Punzignut?
It's been a couple episodes for sure. It's funny. I love that he pops up so often though.
Yeah, I know. I think there's at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different pods that have Punzignut in it. It's hilarious. So there he is.
Wait, really?
Yeah, you see that? Well, you got the Pantorans right. You got the Pantorans right there.
Yeah.
The Pantorans over here again, but there he is. There he is. He's all over the place. So here we see.
That's one I never noticed before.
Yeah. Once again, we see our buddy. And here is Obi-Wan and Satine, and he's just basically saying, don't deny your friends the opportunity to help you, whatever, right? So here's our Death Watch assassin, and he tries to attempt a murder on her, and they jump ship, and basically her driver gets blown away. Her car, or basically her speeder, gets blown up. So she goes to the Senate, and we see Palpatine. And you said you had Palpatine available?
Yeah, I showed him.
Yeah.
Was it I probably showed him last week. But for people who didn't watch last week, yeah, I could just do a quick. So yeah, this is just a Palpatine. I used the episode 3, resculpted the arms. If you press on the feet, he'll still do that karate chop action. The hands are from the vintage Phantom Menace Anakin, the little Padawan one that came with the helmet and the lightsaber. And the head is the Darth Sidious. Remove the hood. There's a full face under there, so all I really had to do was make a mold. I cast it. I make them whenever I want now, and I just had to add hair. And that's basically how I made that figure. And that neck is actually from that figure as well. I ended up molding and casting that too, just to make it easier to make these.
Yeah, so you just basically added a little hair to his head, right?
Yeah, that's all. It didn't really take much.
Procreate or green stuff, or
that one I think was Abe's Fix It, because at the time I hadn't started using the Procreate, and for the arms, that's green stuff.
Very good.
Yeah.
Very cool. All right. Well, let's move it on. I appreciate you sharing that one as well. That's excellent. So she basically goes and he says there's not going to be any charges. And she's mad, so she leaves. And it's funny, this hallway, we constantly see this hallway outside the Senate arena. And lo and behold, look who's in the background. Is that amazing? The first time we see Mon Mothma. Yep. Right. Yeah. I was pretty amazed when we saw her. That was a first reveal kind of a thing. I believe this is the first time we actually see her, isn't it?
Yeah, I was actually talking to another customizer yesterday, and we were talking about how to part her out and stuff like that. And I definitely think the Aura Singh head would be perfect to make her. They have the same kind of bone structure, but the body is going to be a lot of work.
Yeah, it's just tricky getting body parts for females. I've run into that actually. I've been attempting to make this Satine here, and trying to get the right body is definitely difficult. Most of us, most customizers, I say, would use fodder, right? They wouldn't necessarily.
Yeah, we try to take shortcuts where we can.
Yeah, of course. And so Satine goes on her own because she's got to solve this problem. And she goes and she meets up on Coruscant with Victor from the Underworld, right? It looks like that guy from the Underworld. You know what I'm talking about?
No.
Yeah, have you ever seen Underworld with Kate Beckinsale?
Yeah, but
vampire movie.
I don't think I watched it attentively. Like, yeah, I'm not a big fan of that franchise. Not that I'm not a fan. I'm just not passionate about it enough where I noticed a lot.
So this guy just looks just like that guy. Just like I can't think of the actor's name right off the top of my head, but definitely looks like him. So he's just basically somebody from her planet, and he found deep in the archives a doctored version and the real version. So he brought the real communication from that minister to Satine at great risk, at great peril. You know, he took a great chance coming here to see her, and he basically gave her a handoff, and this assassin is basically lurking somewhere. And that's going to lead me right up into my next custom. And there he is, and he's got that awesome, basically like a sniper rifle, right?
Oh yeah.
I thought that was just amazing. And I did a custom of this guy. It was just basically a repaint when they weren't really prevalent at the time. It was just, I think they just had the darker version of the Mando, and he came with that speeder bike, right? And then they had the Vizsla. So what I did is I took the Vizsla and I made just a repaint of that guy. And I actually did the gun today. It's definitely a custom gun. I don't do custom weapons all the time because basically they're PVC. So PVC has a great deal of trouble sticking to itself because it actually has to be the same consistency or the same hardness for it to stick together. So what I did was I made sure to drill holes in some of these pieces here. I added this top scope, and then this front scope here, I added that, or the silencer, I added that piece, but I actually drilled into them for more security, or so they were a little bit more secure. But there is that custom Death Watch assassin, and he's got that huge gun.
Oh, I so thought about doing one of that little police droid. Because I have an extra one of those Senate pod things.
Yeah.
Around somewhere. I don't know exactly where it is in the house right now. I know I have two of them though, so I was like, oh, I should take my second one and create one of those little police ones. So I'm glad you did it.
Yeah, wouldn't that be great if they, like, every character, instead of coming with some silly build a weapon or whatever, they came with some kind of cool something, like a cool accessory, you know?
They need to. I'm really unhappy with the accessories that they have been making when there's so many things we need from that are part of the actual Star Wars universe, not this makeup, whatever Hasbro feels like making up.
Yeah.
Like, what is that, Chirrut Imwe?
Uh-huh.
We got him with the staff and the 3 3/4 inch, and then we get this huge, bulky, like, crossbow, and it looks nothing like the one that he actually uses in the movie. And it's like, man, can't you get rid of that chunky crossbow that you're packing in there and give us what we're actually supposed to get?
Yeah, just give us the real thing.
It's really frustrating.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I get this big wonky piece of junk when I could have got, and yeah, I would really, I'd really just like to get what we're, things that I would actually want to add on display, not something I want to hide in a drawer.
I hear you. Yeah. So here we see what happens here is we see the Death Watch assassin, and he fires and kills the informant. But what happens right at the last minute, Satine pulls out her little gun, and it looks like she actually killed the guy. So here comes the police probe, and that's actually going to lead me into my next custom. You were just talking about it. This little probe here, it's a it's a cam droid, basically, is what they call it in the prequels.
Yeah.
But what they did is they put little lights on it, and they made it as if it was a sentry for the local law enforcement, or the area police force, right? So it's just part of that group, right? And so here is my next custom. And yes, I used one of those cam droids from, I believe they come with episode 1 and episode 2 characters. This one came,
they came with the Palpatine, right?
Palpatine, and then this one came from Orn Free Ta. And I actually found little pieces of plastic that were
from the holograms.
Yeah, basically, translucent, but also colored in the same color to make those lights. I guess Legos would work, but I don't collect Legos, so maybe this is one I might revisit a little bit. I might tighten up those lights a little bit, and I think I might remove those kind of those antennas and make like tighter antennas, that so they're not so they're straight up and down. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Looks good though.
Yeah, thanks. And there's the Keystone Cop droid. God, I adore those. I will get
like a Magna Guard, doesn't it?
Yeah. They really.
I was looking at the Magna Guard as much as I could, and I'm like, wow, I wonder if I could make one of those from a Magna Guard droid.
I'm leaning more towards, like, with the legs mostly. I'm leaning more towards like a super battle droid, believe it or not. I have so many of those, but the head is definitely going to be the big pain in the rear, with that bucket on top. That's the true bucket head, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's got that popcorn bucket on his head. It's really cool. But there's the probe up front. They're basically chasing her, and she does this kind of sneaks down an alley, and she gets away. And they actually have clones with them, and they have those shields. They're Coruscant secure or sentries, basically.
They released those. Yeah,
those were amazing. They were amazing, man. There's a couple more shots I just thought I'd throw in there. I don't know if it translates. I actually didn't have one of those little hovering posts, one of those clear dowels that you were talking about last week. So I used kind of one of those clear elements that came with the electric from a Palpatine. I guess they had, at one point they had loaded him in his arms or something where you could make it look like he was shooting them. So I use that as his hover point. It's funny, you're not seeing it right now, but I put the bottom of it into a Captain America shield. It's hilarious.
Oh, nice.
Because I didn't really have a post for it either. But eventually, I want to definitely get some of those dowel looking things. Yeah. So here we have these guys, and they're basically asking kind of the locals, right, if they've seen them. And because I'm feeling giving tonight, I thought I'd show kind of a work in progress. I started a new program. I don't know if you saw it on my Facebook page, Peak-OB1 Custom Creations. It's called Whips from the Workshop. And basically, I just show pictures that are not done, that are not completed. A whip is obviously work in progress. So here is, for the first time to the world, I know you've already seen this, Dark Daddy, but the Ithorian. What do you think of that?
I love anything Arthurian.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of that alien species. It's one of my favorite of the Star Wars universe.
Yeah, and I love that outfit. You know, I've been trying to model it after that outfit, but that body is so weird and awkward. You know, trying to translate that, it's difficult. But this is my second attempt. This is going to eventually be a bounty hunter from a further down the road season.
The box.
Yeah, the box. But I just thought I'd throw them in there because they all wear that that similar outfit with the little shorts and everything, and
yeah,
and the armbands. And this is all super articulated, folks. I believe the body was a How to Train Your Dragon. You can use all kinds of different types of toys to achieve what you're looking for, you know. And once again, you know, I dremeled into these legs here to achieve that, like to make them look like shorts, you know what I'm saying? And then I put that leg up in there, and I believe that's Fix It, believe it or not, with all the
lines
and everything, you know. But
it's actually good to build them that way when you actually drill up into it, because it makes for a stronger figure.
Yeah.
Sometimes when you just sand both ends, you glue it. When you go to bend the knees or you know, work that articulation, it could just pop right apart. So if you do just drill in just a little bit, you're making your figure that much stronger.
Yeah. Yeah, I've had a couple break every once in a while. You know, they're not. I wouldn't recommend them for play necessarily. You know, you don't have to keep them from young people, but I wouldn't say they would hold up as well as these tested toys that they mass produce over and over. These are more like art forms, you know.
I usually, because I make mine for Elias, and he is gentle with his toys, but
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes he has friends that come over. So I generally have a rule: don't play with the customs, but I do try to make them as durable as Hasbro's, just because I just never know what's going to happen. I mean, it's really hard when you bring little kids in this room to say, look with your eyes, not with your hands, because you could say it, but they don't do it.
Yeah.
The first thing they'll do is like start reaching for something, and then it's dominoes and stuff. It starts hitting the floor, and I want to make sure I could take that fall for the most part, you know.
Right. Yeah, I for the most part try to make sure that's happening with mine as well. I try to build them, build the mechanics. I call them the mechanics of the figure, which mostly is made up of ball and peg type of technology, which they've ultimately gone away from. Right, in this day and age, Hasbro, I'm referring to, they've definitely gone away from that. They hold that
hinge joint.
That hinge joint hostage. You know, and they go, here, we'll put them in a 6-inch. We'll put them in a 6-inch. If you want those kind of joints, you got to buy the 6-inch. You know, we're not gonna.
Yeah, I mean, some people have been trying to use Revoltech, sells those joints, where you can go on eBay and you could buy like 100 of them at once. Unfortunately, when you buy them, you may get only one joint and you may not have the matching joint. I mean, sometimes you'll luck out and you'll get 2 matching joints and stuff, but they move differently and they're built a little differently too. So when you do use them, it makes it not look like a Hasbro figure, because it doesn't have the same appearance. I have a bunch of Revoltech joints, and I think I've only used them like once or twice because I'm a purist where I kind of want that Hasbro look. But for people who don't care, I highly recommend picking up Revoltech joints. If you just want to have an area of body articulate, and they sell them in different sizes. They have them really big, and they have them, I think it goes like, I don't know if it's like 12 millimeters down to like 6 millimeters. You have to look around. If you go on eBay, look around. They come in different sizes, and you can get really small ones to very large ones. But that's what I would recommend to people who do want to still create articulation in maybe their 5 POA figures. That could be a way to achieve that.
Cool. That makes sense. I've never actually used those myself, but check it out, folks. Check it out.
I used them in, you know where I used them? I think in the knees of Agent Callus. It was like one of the first times. I think I used it in my Agent Callus figure.
Nice.
Yeah.
So back to our episode. This was one of those kind of oh my goodness moments for me. There's always those things that Dave Filoni puts into the show that are you seeing that there?
Yeah, it's actually a really cool image.
Yeah, this was based on this piece of artwork. I'll share. Check that out. This is a piece of art from Ralph McQuarrie.
Oh, wow.
He is the kind of the visionary, I feel, for some of the earliest creative elements of Star Wars back in the old days, back in the 70s. This was the artist who did the majority of the stuff. So
it's really carried forward too. I know Dave really takes from that in Star Wars Rebels now. There's so much McQuarrie influence in that show.
Even more so now, right?
Yeah,
like he's leaning on it even more. But what we got, and that's why I said it was an oh my god moment, because I was just blown away when I saw this, because I knew from being a fan for so long, I knew what that was. You know, it was this kind of this little space bar, kind of these little meeting places, these little nooks. What's cool about it is right in the center, a little trivia here. You see that rock there? That rock is the last piece of like one of the highest mountaintops on the planet. So like it's the only like piece still that exists on this city center, you know, the city planet, of course, on. So
wow, where did you hear that part?
Gosh, I don't know. Long time ago, it was either Pablo or it was Filoni or maybe even Killian Plunkett. I don't have all my facts straight, but I definitely heard it from that source. I can get the source and possibly put it in there, but that's the last actual piece of the planet. You know, the planet's indigenous rock. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I thought that was kind of cool. And Satine, I'm sorry, that was a slip.
I did that in the car ride over, and I got dogged out by Elias so bad.
Yeah. I heard a crazy theory. You know, we were talking about theories when we first started the episode. I heard just crazy theory, and while I don't necessarily believe it, you know, the theory was sound and strong, and it was actually very entertaining, almost as entertaining as your Jar Jar is a Sith Lord. But
share it. I want to hear.
Oh my gosh! So I don't have the name of the guy who did it. I'll have to get it for you. I'll have to put it in the show notes or something. But this guy basically said, spoiler alert, Sabine is the secret love child of Obi-Wan and Satine, and then Ezra and Sabine fall in love, right? And they have Rey, and Ezra falls to the dark side because Sabine is killed, right? And ready for this? Ready for this? Ezra is not Snoke. He's Benicio del Toro, and he's Star Killer, and he's Star Killer, and he makes Star Killer Base, and he is the founder of, ready for this, the Knights of Ren. Whoa, whoa, whoa! I thought that was, yeah, right, because he named it after Sabine Wren, right?
The only thing I wouldn't get, just if you watched last night's episode of Rebels, though, they make it like Sabine's mom is still alive and working with the Empire, which that would mean it's not Satine, because Satine, as we definitely know, is dead.
Yeah, I know that. It was just a cool theory. I thought it was. It was something.
I almost feel like her mom might be Bo-Katan, because
Katie Sackhoff,
if there's some type of royal lineage, you would think that her mom is Satine's sister, and if Satine dies, would she be next in line? And therefore, if she's next in line and she's the one who's ruling Mandalore, and she's the one working with the Empire, you know, that to me that seems more likely.
Yeah.
If there is any type of royal lineage, it could be like elections, like the way it is on Naboo with Padme. I couldn't tell you.
Right. And you know, theories, they're just fun, I suppose.
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
I had somebody dog me out. Yeah, I had somebody dog me out because, you know, I presented a theory that they didn't like, and they just dogged me out. And so many people.
They're vicious on the internet. I've gotten dogged out like you wouldn't believe.
Yeah.
But,
yeah. Especially with
people are mean.
That Jar Jar Sith Lord thing.
Yeah, when it comes to theories, man, people are not polite, you know?
Yeah, I know, man.
I haven't actually gotten dogged out on the Jar Jar Sith theory, believe it or not. That's one you think would get attacked, and I haven't really gotten attacked on that one.
Very cool. All right, well, yeah, it's just fun to have theories, folks. You know, so just to bring it back to the episode here. I don't necessarily know if I believe those theories either, but once again, that was McQuarrie's painting, and it was amazing. So here we see, and this is probably one of the customs that I adore the most. I've showed him before. He's GL917. He's just basically a information droid, you know, kind of a merchant droid and whatnot. And I thought I'd share that tonight as well. There he is. Have I shown this before?
That looks so cool.
Yeah,
I've seen it, but I don't know. I don't know if you've shown it on this show. I know I've seen it.
Yeah, I don't think I did, because I think I was saving it for season 3, and as it looks in the photo. But yeah, I guess this is the first reveal tonight of GL917. I got a whole bunch of little secrets.
Did you actually use the Lego head for that?
I didn't. You know what head I used? Believe it or not, I used an assassin droid, an IG-86 assassin droid. Nice. But if you look at the face here, that's all sculpted with Procreate. I did all that with Procreate. And the top of the head, it's all Procreate. Yeah.
Oh, really? I thought the top of the head might have been like the Bausch, or, you know.
No. That's completely sculpted. Yeah. I really enjoyed his paint job too. Definitely really
cool.
That
is a nice paint job.
Yeah, very colorful, very interesting. So first reveal tonight for that, even though I'm supposed to show it in season 3. Whoops.
Well, that's okay though. When you think about it, I mean, we like that you guys watch every week, but we understand that you probably don't.
Yeah, and we do, you know.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, it would be nice if you guys actually watch every episode the same way you did with Clone Wars, you know.
Yeah.
Maybe you guys need to give last week a little bit of love.
Yeah. Satine, man, she's a tough one. We're not sure what's going on. If in fact they do shed more light on this Satine thing. I mean, that theory that I told you about, if you think about it, if Rey was to be, let's just say Rey was to be in that line, she would be a Kenobi and a Skywalker. You know what I'm saying?
How would she be a Skywalker?
Oh no, I guess. Well, she would be no, she would be a Kenobi. I'm sorry.
And a Mandalorian.
Right, and a Mandalorian.
But we knew she was a Mandalorian. Well, Rey would be a Mandalorian.
Not a Skywalker. You know, there's different theories. Everybody's all into the Kenobi, and there's so many different theories. That's why I don't know. I guess I'm just gonna leave it for when it all comes out. I'm not gonna worry about.
I do want to see Lucasfilm give the character of Satine more love, though, especially because she was such an important character to Obi-Wan Kenobi.
I agree.
She hasn't gotten her due yet. She's kind of like, you know, they need to do more for Satine. She's
definitely an interesting character. It's funny that she's kind of in that same boat as Padme. You know, kind of the same kind of situation that Anakin is in, right? So he meets up with her, and here's another thing, just a small little custom, nothing really eccentric that I did with this one, but we see Obi-Wan in his cloak for the first time, and can you guess where that cloak is from?
No.
Oh, okay. No. It's the Jar Jar cloak. It's the Bombad Gungan cloak.
Oh, wow.
And what's cool about it is
wiring, so it actually fits on there.
It actually has a wire around the neck so you can tighten it. And sometimes it's just as simple as that, folks. You can just, you know, put a cloak on somebody and you have a different looking character. Of course, that is that's my custom from previous episodes that I've done. I felt that the original Obi-Wan head looked absolutely terrible, so I put on the space Obi-Wan head, and there you have it. There is an Obi-Wan just with a nice cloak. And I actually, if you see how it's folded down like that, it has glue. I actually glued it a little bit. You can also use like a spray bottle with water and just get it wet to shape kind of your cloaks and whatnot. But there you go.
Yeah, I did that with that Cad Bane I showed at the beginning of season 2.
Yeah, if it's sitting on a shelf and you can get it where you like it, you know, as a display piece. Doesn't work so much for play for kids, but
no, not at all. Yeah,
glue does. You know, I have just a little bit of glue holding down that hood.
Man, it's a shame. Tom Horry sells that Jar Jar. Unfortunately, he doesn't sell it with the hood. I wish.
Yeah,
I would buy it just to get the cloaks, you know, for the wiring.
Right. So after Obi-Wan and Satine meet, they see this assassin. He comes after him again, and I love this part. You're actually seeing Obi-Wan lift him and throw him into the wall, which is an Anakin move, if you ask me. But he ends up getting away. So the Mando's plans are thwarted, right? And she decides that she's going to give Obi-Wan the information to sneak to one of her friends, you know, which turns out to be Padme. And she turns herself in because obviously she's wanted for murder. So we see Padme delivering the proper information, and the guy says, "No, we don't want your help. We definitely want you to stay out of our hair because we can deal with this ourselves." And everybody's happy about that. And there's Mon Mothma again. I thought that was cool since she's going to be in Rogue One pretty soon. I thought that was cool that we saw her. And here we see Vizsla, and he's just like, unacceptable. I love it. He's disappointed right away. And Dooku just wants to force choke him. But
It's pretty cool. Remember how last week I was saying I was reading Revenge of the Sith?
Yeah.
Well, I finished it, and what was really cool, Mon Mothma has a much bigger part in the book. I don't know if you've ever seen any of those deleted scenes where they had the senators who were trying to put, I think it was like petition of 1,000 or petition of 1,000 systems. But yeah, Mon Mothma was one of the senators who were trying to organize to try to get Palpatine to step down, or at least rescind some of his like executive powers, and that he had accumulated over time. But that actually, those deleted scenes are actually part of the book.
Yeah, man, I'll tell you, I'm glad you actually brought up Revenge of the Sith. We had a guest on a while back on one of our episodes, Chris Sequel, podcast extraordinaire. He's on just tons of stuff, but he's from the Star Wars underworld, and he had expressed. And he's from a different age group, right? He's a little bit younger.
He's the kids that actually grew up with the prequels.
He was
probably at that prime age when the prequels hit. That's his Star Wars. Those are the ones that he grew up with. Like Chad and I, we're original trilogy kids. I sat in the theater 3 years old. It was only the second movie I ever saw was A New Hope. But yeah, Chris is from that younger generation.
Yeah, and he had expressed that he really enjoys the prequels in order, and I share his same feelings. I liked them. I liked them in order. I liked the Phantom Menace the best. I like the Attack of the Clones, except for kind of the rushed love affair of Padme and Anakin, and then Revenge of the Sith. Man, I feel like they left some of the most important parts out. All the special edition or deleted scene stuff was the stuff that needed to be in there. You're just referring to the group that goes against the Senate. They are ultimately the people who form the rebellion, basically, right?
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I think the reason why that stuff was left out is because people started complaining about politics in Star Wars. And it was a big problem in Padme and Anakin's relationship. From the book, you find out that was a big issue in some problems that Anakin and Padme had as far as like connecting. Anakin kind of felt betrayed that she was part of this group that was trying to put pressure on Palpatine. Palpatine was using it against Anakin for leverage. I mean, I really read the book. It's almost like getting bonus content for the movie.
Do you like Revenge of the Sith a little bit better than?
I always liked the movie, but you learn a lot about what Anakin's thinking, where in the movie you only get what he's saying.
Yeah.
And you're only getting half the story because of that. So really read the book, and I'm sure you're all going to enjoy it.
Yeah, I thought there were definitely things missing. This image that I'm showing right now of Mon Mothma, the minister, when he's talking, it's funny when they show her, he says, "Our resolve will," he says, I'm just paraphrasing, something like, "We will have resolve. We will beat the conflict," and I think she gets that can-do attitude and uses it in the rebellion, when she sees that struggle. So kind of a little story building for Mon Mothma too. I thought that was kind of cool. But we'll go back to the end, and this last image that I have, it's just basically Obi-Wan and Satine. They're realizing life is changing. Life is changing because of this war. That you can't trust the people you used to trust, and you cling to your friendships, and you're just being changed by the war, and they're getting weary, basically. So it basically ends on a kind of a sad note, kind of a frustrating note, even though she prevailed in the end. She got her neutrality back. So they're not going to, they're going to leave her alone, basically, for a little while. But Mandalore is a big part. Like I said last week's episode, it's just a hotbed of power. There's a power struggle there that people don't want to pull away from, or they don't want to neglect it, right?
Yeah, like I said, she was commanding over 1,000 neutral systems.
Right,
So
right.
to be able to undermine her, get her out of power. I mean, the first episode, they were trying to show that there was a terrorist group or an organization that was trying to undermine her, at least try to get people nervous, where they're like, don't really go along with her pacifist ways. She overcomes that. Then they go out trying for an outright assassination. And then this one, they try to actually frame her, and they doctor a speech that was given to basically make it so the Republic goes in there and takes over, basically does a military occupation. But they tried to throw everything but the kitchen sink to try and get this territory and to have influence over those 1,000 neutral systems. And yeah, Palpatine failed at every turn.
Yep. Until next time. He's like sitting there. Until next time.
Oh yeah,
until we meet again, Satine.
and this is a power piece throughout almost every season. You keep kind of going back to Mandalore.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah.
Except for the extra footage at the end in that season 6, that half season, but
yeah,
season 5 it comes up. Season 3 we're going back. It's a big piece of the Clone War.
For sure. Awesome, man. Well, that is our show, folks. This is episode 27. I am Peak-OB1 from Peak-OB1 Custom Creations on Facebook, and at Clone Wars Custom Figures on Facebook as well. I also have an Instagram that I see a lot of people have been liking, and I very much appreciate that. It's Peak-OB1 Custom Figures on Instagram, and I will definitely have some new photos coming up on that site. And of course, I will be updating both my Facebook and the Clone Wars page. Where can we find you, sir?
You can locate me on the Customs for the Kid blog. From there, you can see all the action figures we made at the Action Figure Index. You can see the panel that we appeared in, which you also appeared in, Chad, the action figure customizing panel from Star Wars Celebration Anaheim. From there, you could go to our Facebook page, our YouTube channel, our Twitter feed. We post over at Tumblr, and we also are on Instagram, Pinterest, and Google+.
Nice.
But yeah, check out those spots, and you'll be brought up to speed on what's going on over at the blog.
Awesome. Until next time, we will see you later.
May the Force be with you.